business-oriented nonprofit for about 4 years now. By trade, I'm actually a student at Pan Am. I'm studying to be an electrical engineer. So that's who I am, but I do this. This is basically my profession. So I actually want to get to know more about you guys and what type of things you're used to. I want to see like the levels of tech that we are here. So have you guys ever used Photoshop before? Who has used Photoshop before? Okay, you learn how to use Photoshop. Like you haven't used it, but you'd like to know. So basically the same people. Okay, so let's see. You have like no idea how to use Photoshop, but you've heard of it. No idea, but you like to. Okay, all right. So who has a small business? Or starting to look a small business? Okay, who's representing an organization? Okay, all right, okay. Just the layout, just wanted to know who you all are and what you're looking for here. So this is what we're gonna go over. So first we're gonna get our art degree, then I'm gonna teach you some tools, and then we're gonna do it on the fly. We're gonna create some stuff today for y'all. Okay, so first things first, like why do we care about branding? So branding creates a cohesive experience for your clients. So it gives personality to who you are as a person or an organization. And it's also the first impression for your business. So whenever you think of a business, or for example, when you think of Coca-Cola, you think of those red and white, and you think of that cursively little logo. Or you think of Google, you think of the primary colors that they always use, the type of font that they're using now, and the word itself, Google. And that's really important. So now we're gonna go get our art degree. So a couple of things you need to know for when you're creating things. So there's two things you need to know. There's two types of color things that you need to do. So for the types of color things that they use for screen, it's going to be RGB. So that's red, green, and blue. So RGB is color space used for screens because it emits light. And then we have CMYK, which is cyan, magenta, yellow, and that's used for when you're using print. So when you're designing things to be printed, flyers, T-shirts, anything that's going to be printed, you're going to use CMYK. But for most of the things that are online, social media, things that you're creating for Facebook, et cetera, you're going to be using RGB. And now we're going to learn about Hex Code. So Hex Code is actually not that hard. It's just basically 6 numbers with a little number sign or hashtag if you're young. And it gives you the different code for all the different code values for every different color, basically. So if you find colors that you like out there, you're going to use the hex code, and that's going to be actually applicable for both RGB and CMYK. So you'll only need to learn one thing. And if you're wondering, you find a color that you like, or you're looking for colors, this website right here, colorhex.com, is going to give you the color codes for any color that you might want or look for. So that's one of the things you need to keep in your back pocket. Okay, so now we're going to go into image file types. So these are the 3 primary ones you're going to be using. So JPEG, most common. The thing about this one is you lose some quality. Then you have GIF. So GIF, well, it depends what you pronounce it as, GIF or GIF. I really don't care. I like GIF because it reminds me of peanut butter. But this is the most popular as well, and it's a small file size, and it's also used most for animation. So if you use Tumblr, the pictures that are moving are going to be GIFs. And then lastly, we have PNG. So PNG is my personal favorite because it supports transparency. So whenever you're sending your logo out, and your logo is a little bit complicated, there's blank spaces in between it, you're able to save that with a PNG, and a PNG doesn't lose quality. So I use PNG for when I post things on Facebook, Instagram, because the images look much better, much cleaner. There's no quality loss when you're using PNG. Now, we're going to talk about typography. So if you talk to graphic designers, they're going to tell you there's a difference between typeface and fonts. And technically, that's right, there is, but you're just going to counter with nobody cares. Unless you're a graphic designer. If you're a graphic designer, I'm sorry. But for people who aren't graphic designers, it doesn't really matter. But things that we have to keep in mind when we're using typography is fonts have feelings. So you can see different fonts emit different types of feelings. So for example, I'd like to think we're friends. We're going to have pizza in bed. We have beer. It's fun. We're friends. I'm your friend. You're my friend. So because of that, my presentation is really casual. And that's expressed also in the font that I use. So you can see the font. My headings are all like this handwritten type of font because it's very casual. This isn't the type of presentation I would give to, like, I don't know, a client that I'm trying to get to be, well, a client. It's the clients whose business I'm trying to get. So this is the type of presentation I would give or in a professional setting, but because it's really casual, we're keeping things fun, my font's reflecting that as well. Now, what we'll also want to try is having a little fun with font types. So you can see down here I use some examples of title, heading, and paragraph. So you can see both of these give you different feelings, but one thing you don't want to do is you're going to limit your typefaces. So don't use too many. So we want to keep it 3 tops: title, subtitle, and paragraph. So those are the 3 different ones you want to keep, and keep that consistent, and we'll be in good shape. Now, we're going to go a little bit into color theory. This is when we're getting our art degree. So for those of us who aren't super artsy, this is the color wheel. So basically, it's just a wheel of colors. And right here, we have 3 different color groups. The primary colors are the colors that cannot be created. So these are the colors we use to create other colors. Secondary colors are when you mix, for example, blue and red are going to create purple. Yellow and blue are going to create green, and red and yellow are going to create orange. So now instead of 3, we have 6. And we can even go further into that, and then we go into tertiary colors. So this is where we have like light orange, red orange, blah, blah, blah. Those other fancy colors in here. And we're going to go a little bit more into this real quick. So there's color theory. So once we have our color wheel established, which is this over here, we can start grouping colors into different little harmonies. So analogous colors are colors that are similar. So they're right next to each other on their color wheel. So these guys are hanging out together. They're friends. They're analogous. Then we have complementary colors. These are guys that are right across each other from the color wheel. So you can see there's like a huge contrast with them. For example, in these flowers, we have purple right across from green. And now color theory. So color context, how color relates to colors. So we have the same red shade in the middle of all these different colors, but we can see that every single one of these squares gives us a different feeling for the color red. So the red actually looks the biggest in the black, even though they're all the same shape. It looks a little bit paler in the orange. It looks really, I don't really like the way it looks with this blue. So just keep that in mind. So this is going to come into play when we're using font types, font colors. Yes, ma'am. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay. So this is going to come into play when we're choosing font colors. So we're going to see what the background color is going to change and the font color that we use. And so to make this a little bit easier, because you're like, oh my God, that's too much art. We have this tool right here. So here's the URL right here, coloradobe.com. If you just Google it, it'll pop up. And it's this. So basically what I just went over, we just went over analogous colors. And so over here we have the analogous color mix, and if we go scroll a little bit lower, we'll see that we'll actually have the hex and the RGB codes for this.
And what is the reason that you want to do the color scheming this way?
So it makes it a little bit easier for you to decide what colors you want to be using. So like I said before over here, when we have the color theory, we're using different colors, but some aren't going very well. Some don't have the red pop out, and let's say the red is our fonts, and we put it on orange. It doesn't look too well, too good, too beautiful. So over here, we're able to use different types of things. So monochromatic, triad, complementary. So complementary colors evoke a little bit more of excitement. So if who's a fan of the Lakers? Actually, I know nothing about basketball. See, I don't even know what sport it is. But one thing that I will show you is the complementary colors that the Lakers colors use. It's what, like purple and yellow, right? So purple and yellow are completely across on the color wheel. So when we think of other different brands that are trying to get you excited, usually these are kind of like for sports, right? I don't know about sports. I don't really care about sports. But I do know about colors. And so those are, when we're trying to pick what colors we want to use for our logos, for our flyers, we have to keep in mind that every color evokes something different. So
where does black factor into that?
Black factors, how does black factor into that? That's a good question. So you can see here, in our little example here, the red actually looks bigger in black. So that creates a contrast. So I like to use black, I like to use black very minimally just because it depends on your brand. So once you're choosing the colors that you want to use and how that's going to go with black. So I usually reserve black for fonts, to be honest, just because black's easier to be using in fonts across most colors.
Does it contrast with like the lighter colors for the complementary aspect?
Right, right. So if we actually, oops, oh my God. There. So if we're using black on different colors, that's actually much more easier to use as a font than rather as a background color.
You mentioned
Okay.
having the body of your fonts, or the body of your paper, or whatever you're doing, yellow or blue.
Well, you're talking about sports teams. I'm a Saints fan. I know they use black and gold, and I thought that was meshed really well. But I was curious if it was the same aspect for across all.
What would be the complement color for yellow, actually? Maybe just a
Purple. Yeah, actually, that's the example I used, the Lakers, right? Because they're yellow. Right. So the complementary color for yellow is purple. So Lakers, just an example. Not that I know anything about sports. That's the extent of my knowledge of
I
sports.
guess the question is, where does black and white go in the color wheel?
Black and white in the color wheel. So white's right in the middle. So white is the, I forget, I don't know if I remember this too well. I think white is the absorption of all color, and black is the absence of color. Is it the other way around? It's the other way around. Okay, thank you. So black is, what was it again?
Basically, just all the colors put
All the colors put together, and white is the absence of color. So I guess that's where you see it. So the center is going to be white. Okay, so now we're going to go over some basic design tips. Okay, so first of all, keep it simple. We want to keep our flyers, whatever it is that we're doing, we want to keep it simple, especially if you're just starting out with design. So just because you can add a billion filters doesn't mean you should. So here we have so many different colors. We have pictures. We don't really know what's going on here. So what I suggest you do is you always keep it clean, crisp, and clear, and make sure your message is clear. Like, I'm pretty sure he says he loves graphic design, but I don't really believe it just because of his flyer. So then the second one is going to be focused on the details. And what I mean by that is we're going to be using the correct file size and the appropriate image size. I mean, file type and image size. And I'll go into that once we start creating our own things. So this is what separates most amateurs, I think, is they're not using the right size and the appropriate media or the right type either. So you'll learn about how to use the correct one for each one. So, and then know your audience. So when you're creating something, you have to think, who is this for? So because this was first something casual, you know, I'm informing you, but it's not too much of a professional presentation. I kept it a little bit casual, and you can see that in my presentation as well. So now we're going to go over the tools. So a lot of you wanted to use Photoshop, so I have 3 different options for you guys today. So Pixlr, Canva, and Photoshop. And so Pixlr, I'm going to go into it real quick. Pixlr is for those who don't want to buy Photoshop. Pixlr is what I refer to as the poor man's Photoshop. It's free and it's browser-based, but it's completely, it's exactly similar in interface. Here we go. So for now, we'll just create this, and I'll show it to you. So this is pretty much it. And it's free, and you can see most of these things are similar to Photoshop, and this is Photoshop. And you can see it's very similar. You have layers that you can use. You can change the image size, transparency, and all that jazz. Now, one thing that I will warn you against if you ever use Pixlr, because I used it when I was starting out. So when I was starting out, I was using Paint, and then I moved on to different things. Like, yeah, so those of you who know, like I used Paint, and then I moved on to bigger things. And the next one I moved into was Pixlr because I didn't have access to Photoshop yet. I didn't want to buy it. I didn't know how to use it, et cetera, whatever excuses you want me to give you. So I started using Pixlr. So Pixlr is sort of like a jumping off point to Photoshop, and it's free. Now, okay, a couple of things that I did when I was starting to use Pixlr. Because it's browser-based, it doesn't save your files. And if you click backspace, your work is completely gone. It's completely gone. So I've gone maybe 30 minutes working on something, layers, it's beautiful. I'm like, this is the best work I've ever done in my life. This is gonna change the world. This flyer is gonna change the world. And then I would suddenly hit backspace, and there was no way of getting that back ever again in my life. So what you're gonna do when you've created something, like you created your masterpiece, you're gonna save it as an editable file. So for this one, it's going to be a PXD. So it's going to save all the layers for you once you go back and you can edit it and have fun with it. So save it as a PXD, don't be like me, and save your files. And alternatively, this is going to be a PSD file in Photoshop.
PXD is a type of file you hadn't described before.
That is correct. So PXD is unique to Pixlr. So when we're using Photoshop, when you save a file, you have the option of using as a PSD file. So PSD file means you can open it again in Photoshop and change things, edit it, et cetera, but this is going to be unique to Pixlr. So I'll go into that once we start creating something together today. Now the next one's going to be, of course, the one you know of. The most famous one is going to be Photoshop. So let me actually make this a little bit smaller. It's going to be Photoshop. And then lastly, it's going to be Canva. So Canva is fairly new. What it allows you to do is create all sorts of fun things. So I created an account here, and it gives you predetermined flyers that you can use. You can use sizes, presentations, Facebook covers, Facebook posts, and if you can see down here, it actually gives you the file size. So what would you guys like to learn today? Do you want to use Canva? Do you want to use Photoshop? Or do you want to use Pixlr?
Everyone.
Okay, so Pixlr, raise your hand. Okay, Photoshop and Canva.
Is Canva free?
Canva is free, sort of. It's like a freemium type deal. Like, it's free to a certain extent. Like, you have access to all sorts of free flyers, free pictures, but there's some that you do have to pay for. So, like, for starting off, it's free, but then you start, like, getting more advanced and you have to pay for it. So,
Right?
say that again?
Is it an app?
It's not an app. It's, yeah, it's like a website that you can use. Okay, so here we go. Let's see, what are we going to use today? Okay, let's do this. We're going to create together with me, we're going to put together this Facebook together. So we're going to create a banner for it, we're going to create a profile page, and a post. So the reason I chose Facebook is because for your organization or your business, this is probably the first step getting online because it's free, everybody uses it, and it gives more legit credibility to whatever it is that you're a part of. And it's also a free way to get people to know you, people to expose to your products without having to worry about websites. So this is usually the first thing that I always tell people who are starting a business, just get it on Facebook and start sharing it with people. And so we're going to do that today. We're going to start our own organization. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the banner. We'll create the banner on Photoshop. So to create the banner, we're going to need the right image sizes. Like I specified before, we want to make sure we use the right image sizes. So the banner is going to be 851 pixels by 314 pixels. So we're going to start doing that over here. So this is Photoshop. First thing we're going to do is open a new one. And here's where we decide what size we want. So we're going to, this one, Code RGB banner. So what was the file size? It was 851. So we'd have the height of 314, so the width 315 and 851. So whenever you want to size images, all you have to do is Google the size. So if you want something for Twitter or your Instagram, just Google image size. That's what I did to get this image here. I just Googled Facebook image sizes, and I was able to get those. So with that, we have the same banner size that we're going to need. Oh, good catch. 851.
I'm dyslexic, so that's something I always pay attention to.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much. Okay, so here we go, 851 by 315. So here we have the size of a Facebook banner. Now, like I said before, we want to think, when we try to get our logos, we want something that's transparent. So I Googled Code RGB, and we can see their logo. Now, I want you guys to see this little checkered background right here. That means this background is transparent. So, say that again, please?
I was kidding.
Oh, it's copyrighted, okay. But it's okay, we're friends, So, and I also want to draw several things to your attention right now. So when we're Googling something, an image we want to use, first thing we want to know is the image size. So we can see that right here. So this is 412 by 316. Now, if you want something bigger, I'm going to give you a pro tip right now. So you're going to go under search tools when you're looking for something. And this gives you different filters you can choose from. So if you want something a lot bigger, you can choose large, medium, et cetera, larger than. So it gives you even proportions you can use. You can narrow it down by color and by type, by time, all of this. Usually I just stick to size, depending on what I'm looking for. So we Googled this. I Googled the Code RGB logo, and I see the size here, and we're able to just go ahead and save this image. So I just download it, and we're back over here. So to add this on here, we're going to go ahead, File, Open, and wherever it is that we saved it. So mine's under downloads. There we go. And you can see it's perfectly done. It's perfectly there. And we're going to just go ahead and right click. And what we do now is, oh, where is it? Duplicate layer, and we're going to go take it to our Code RGB banner. And there it is. So we see that it's too big. So we're going to go over here to edit. I'm sorry, to image. Oh, no, I'm sorry. To edit, transform, and click that. Or if you are pro, Command T, and we're going to click Shift. So once we click Shift, we grab it from the corner and bring it in. The reason we're clicking Shift, please click Shift when you do this, is to resize it to scale. Because if not, we're going to go ahead and skew this image, and it's going to look all weird, and we don't want that. So don't apply. So go ahead, Command T, or over here, free transform, right there. Shift, drag it in, and then repositioning it to wherever you want. So as we see, this back here is a checkered background, so we don't actually want that for the banner itself. So we're just going to go ahead and choose, something simple for now. We're going to choose this color, and we're going to create different shapes. So I'm going to draw your attention over here. So we have different little icons here. To create shapes, we're going to go to this one, and it actually gives you the options to create different types of shape. But right now, we're going to stay to a rectangle. But you can create ellipses, rounded rectangles, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to go here, and we're going to pick our color. So we're going to go with something that doesn't clash. Since you can see they have sort of a little off the primary colors, but you still have a variation of yellow, blue, and green. So we're going to go with white for now, and we're going to create this. Now, it's gone. And why that happened is because I'm going to draw your attention over here to the layers. So every time we create a new element, whether we add font or an image or anything like that, it creates a layer. So we're actually able to change the position of those layers, like so. So we'll just drag our logo over here. So a good practice is right here to change the name of what this is. So this is Code RGB logo. Perfect. And we just bring it to the top, and now it's there. And we can resize to make it a little bit smaller. What else do we want to add to this banner? What do we want people to know about Code RGB?
Meeting time.
Say that again?
Meeting time.
Meeting time, perfect. So now we're going to add text. So we're going to adding information to this. So you're going to click this little T here, and that's going to stand for text, and you can start typing. So it's at 7 p.m. Oops, let me change my font real quick. That's not right. So this is where we choose our fonts as well. So it's going to be up here. You're going to click T, and you're going to go up here to fonts. So we're going to choose something a little bit. We're going to. Yes. 7 p.m. So we can resize this here. So we're going to highlight it and go over here to the font size and make it smaller. And we're going to make this a little bit off gray.
You could probably use a color scheme, right?
Yes. So here's a fun little thing that I love about Photoshop. We can actually grab the color that we have on Code RGB here. So we're going to click the color here. This little square is down here. And we're going to see this little dropper. So we can go ahead and pick the color here, and then we see it down here, up here. So we've chosen the same gray, and we have the hex code that we were talking about earlier, and we can just copy that. And we can make our font the same color with our hex code. So we just highlight it again, go to this icon up here to change it, and just paste in the hex code. So we have a cohesive image within our banner. So it's at the Macallan. That is not how you spell incubator. Incubator, there we go. And when is it? Tuesdays? Every other Tuesday? Thursday. I don't even know what date it is. Thursday. Okay, there we go. So then we resize these. So when we want more options for font, we're going to go over here. And that brings up this sides right here. And we can choose the way that we align our text. We can also do all other fancy stuff with it, like changing the space between our lines, and that's going to be over here.
Is that called bedding?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll take it. Don't worry.
So that's here. So we have our size of 48, so we can size it to the same one, or we can just set it to auto. That way we don't have to worry about it in the future. And our font here is 30, so we'll set this to 30 as well. So we'll change that over here. There we go. Okay, so we have the basic information that we need. Now, when we're designing things like this, we want to go ahead and make sure that they're aligned. So we went over here to View, we went to New Guides, and we chose to add either vertical or horizontal. So I just added a vertical, now I'm going to add a horizontal. And we bring that down here, and that way we can align all our text. And there we go, and we can align our... So as you can see, like I said before, whenever we add new text or new pictures, we create new layers here that we can change around and alter. So very basic. So we have created something very simple for now, and we're going to go ahead and save that. And first thing you're going to do when you're saving in Photoshop is save it as a PSD. So once you're done with this, you can come back and change it. And you still have the file size, you still have the file type. So you're saving this, and I'm going to save it under Downloads. And then after that, you save it as the image, and you're going to upload it to whatever media you want to. So for this one, we're going to save it as a PNG. And save it. So now we have our very basic banner. And now we can upload it to our Facebook.
I'm sorry, what was the reason you used PNG again? Just easier?
So PNG, there's no loss in quality. So when you put it on social media, like I don't know if you've seen pictures on Facebook or like, well, basically Facebook, and there's like a little, the picture looks fuzzy, it doesn't look clear. That's because they're using other file types, for example, JPEG. And so if you use PNG, there's less chance of that happening.
Can you please tell what is the meaning of PNG?
Monday?
Can you please tell what is the meaning of PNG?
The meme?
Meaning.
PNG?
Portable network graphics.
Yeah.
Say that portable.
So it goes along with whenever you're trying to edit something on the website.
Portable network graphic.
There you go. So we just uploaded our PNG and our image file, and you can see it looks crisp, it looks clean, and it fits exactly to what we were looking for. Now,
And sometimes it's actually lower size than JPEGs, and that's because if it's like a vector graphics or like an illustration, the compression of the PNG is actually like very good at it. Like JPEGs are really good because in natural photo photography, you don't mind a little bit of loss. So anyway, fun fact.
cool. Okay, so this is a very basic banner that we've created. Now, when we get a little bit more experience with Photoshop, we can go in and add more effects to our text. For example, if you click the effects here, you'll see all these other options. Like you can even add a drop shadow. You can do an outer glow. Let's get rid of this one though. So we'll go to outer glow, so that means, let me increase the size. So there's like an you'll see right now what I mean. Normal. So you'll see there's like a yellow glow around it. And you can do an inner glow. There's so many things you can play with here to change the font size. The font style. So here we go. But we're just going to keep it the same. We're going to upload it. Now we're going to use Pixlr to create an image for Facebook. So for this one, we're going to use, where's my Pixlr? Here it is. For our Pixlr, we're going to create, actually, let me open what I just closed. We're going to create the profile picture. So the profile picture size is going to be 160 by 160. So we're going to go over here. And it's going to be similar, just like we used Photoshop. File, new image, and it's going to give us the options. So this is going to be code RGB profile. And what was the size again? It was 160 by 160. Okay, and we're gonna put, there we go. So this is, you can see it's tiny because that's what the size for the profile picture should be. So we're gonna open image in a new tab. So Pixlr gives you the option of adding an image in several ways. So you're gonna go to layer, new layer, open images layer, open images URL, open image from library as layer. So you can just grab it directly from the net if you so choose. Or we can upload it like we did in Photoshop where we just input the image. Oops, I did not copy that correctly. Try and copy, there we go. There we go. And there it is. And you can see it's way too big for it. So it has even the similar like keyboard shortcuts, or you can just go directly, and it's going to be the same command that we used before, free transform. And again, you have to use shift. You can use shift here as well to resize it from the corner so that way it doesn't lose any of, oops, I opened a new tab. There we go. So we're going to go to, again, it's a little bit too small, so I'm going to resize it back up. There we go. So that's it. Basically, it's similar in the way that Photoshop works. So if you can master Pixlr, you can master Photoshop, and vice versa. The only difference is when you're saving this as an editable file, is it's not going to be PSD. It's going to be It's not going to be PSD. It's going to be PXD. That's one of the main differences. But you also have the option of saving it as a JPEG, as a PNG, BMP, blah blah blah. All of these as well. So I'm going to save it as a PXD so I can go and change this later. And then I'm going to save it again as a PNG. Oops. So save it as a PNG.
So how regularly would you save something?
How rarely? Every time I remember to save it.
Save it.
Yeah, just save it, save and save often. That's always the life model whenever you're working with any file. So as long as save it and save often, that's what I'm going to say. So when I remember that I need to save it, I save it. Anytime that I'm like, oh, did I save it? I don't know, let me save it. Just in case, just save it. So we go back to our picture, our profile in a bit, but I want to go over the commands. So we see that's the same thing. We also have the layers here that we can create just like if it were Photoshop. We have the fonts that we can change. We have images we can add. We have gradients, and the command icons also look the same. So you can see all of these guys here are similar to something here, except maybe they're colored, but that's basically the same thing. You have the layers you can play around with. So before you plunge into buying Photoshop, I urge you to go ahead and try Pixlr because it's very similar. And you can create pretty much the same thing except, just save it. And yeah, so we're going to go back to our Facebook here, and we're going to add it to our profile picture. And open. Please, so that's 180 pixels. Wow, did I choose the wrong one? I think I might have. Where did I save it? Let's go back here. I saved it. It's PNG to downloads. Okay. Yes. Photo's too small, 180 pixels wide. Okay. So let's go over here, and we can see what our image size is. 160. Okay, so let's constrain proportions, and we can try to resize this. There we go. But I wanted you to notice something. When I resize the entire image, you can see that the code RGB logo itself got a little bit fuzzy. So we can go ahead and just add that again. Now that we have the right proportions, let me just double check. So image size, there we go. And you can also do this with Photoshop if you're not aware. Like if you copy something in Photoshop, you don't know what the size is, you want to change it, you can also go back to image size, just like it was Pixlr, and see what size. It gives you the options of inches, but when you're working with web stuff, it's usually going to be in pixels. So you can see this here also. This is the exact size that we wanted. So back to Pixlr. So let me go ahead and add the logo again. And there we go. So we're going to go ahead and resize it again under Edit, Free Transform, Shift, and center it. And we'll make it bigger again and center it again. Perfect. Yes, I want to save those changes. Actually, you know what? I want to move it down a little bit. So go ahead, back to image layer, free transform, and just bring it down a little. There we go. And apply changes. And now we're going to save it again as the PXD file. So save it, PXD, OK, and save. And yes, replace it, because you have to create a new file every time. And then save it. And save it as a PNG, replace it. And there we go. So now this should be the appropriate size. We go back to our Facebook and upload the image we just created. So in case you can see that the profile picture is a square, so in case whatever logo that you have isn't the right size, you can go back into Pixlr and create it real quick, like I showed you with the right file sizes. So you go to new image, create the right file proportions, insert the logo that you're using, and put it back into your Facebook. So here we go. We're creating a Facebook page. Now, the last thing we want to do is create some content for our Facebook page. Now we're going to use Canva. So Canva is really interesting because it gives you the option of choosing preset sizes. You don't have to memorize what Photoshop size you want to use. If you're like, I'm not about that life, it's about here. It's here whenever you want to use it. So we have Facebook posts or social media posts. Personally, I like to use squares just because I can use this on my Instagram and across most social media without having to create individual image sizes, sorry. So once we decided we wanted to use social media, we can choose from different layouts here. So Valentine's Day just happened, so that's why we have a lot of Valentine's Day thing. And you'll notice something here, it says free. Some of them are paid for, but for the most part, a lot of them are free. And so you don't have to worry about if you grab something from the internet that you can't use, or whether it's copyrighted or not. So you can create something really quick for your website or for your business. And they have preset custom graphics that you can change. So we're going to put something, let's do a motivational quote. So we have something that is already pre-made. It's simple. It follows the design principle we're talking about, the contrast in fonts, but it's clear, it's crisp. We can read whatever it's saying. We know what the audience is. You can reach most audiences, but we still get the message that we need. So we're going to put something different. Let's change the font the text to, the past has no power over the present moment. What are some motivational quotes? What are some, what's your daily mantra? Does anybody have a daily mantra they whisper to themselves?
Grace and ease.
Say that again?
It's not mine, it's yours.
Oh, it's yours, ma'am? Braise and ease?
Grace, like grace.
Grace and ease.
No,
Oh,
grace. Like, okay, yeah, grace.
I think I'm saying it weird. What's your name, ma'am? Christina. Oh, I need to download. Let me erase that. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Let's try that again. Am I spelling this right, Christina? CH. Okay. There you go. So now we can just move this down. Oh, let me move you down. There we go. Move it down. Perfect. So we have Grace and Ease by Christina. And now we can download this. So and it gives us the options for what file we can download. And we're going to go with PNG. There we go, and it's done. So now we're going to go ahead and add content to our Facebook page. So we go to Upload Photos, Grace and Ease, PNG, and we're going to put something like Live Your Life. Or, I guess, yeah, that works. Live your life with Grace and Ease. There we go. Grace and Ease. Perfect. And we're going to publish this. So there we go. We have our Facebook page with different file sizes. It's pretty clear and it's pretty crisp and clear for any beginner to start playing around with graphic design for yourself without it being too difficult or overwhelming. Hopefully I've made it not difficult and not overwhelming. So do we have any questions? No? Okay, perfect.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you be able to talk about like smart objects on Photoshop?
Smart objects?
That's something.
I don't know how to use smart objects.
They're basically embedded files or like they're vector objects, and they're mostly embedded files though. So if you drag like a file, like another PSD or another Illustrator file, another Adobe file into Photoshop, it becomes a smart object. So when you double click on it, you can actually edit it by itself. So the way that it's used is a lot of the templates that you download, like maybe like if you're doing like a mock-up of a product design or like a branding of a business card, they're smart objects because when you double click on them, you can actually change the images that are inside the smart objects, and then you update it with your branding of the business. You save the smart object, and now if you had 1, 2, 3 copies of the same smart object inside the Photoshop file, all of them will be updated to that one, basically. So that's why they're called smart, because basically it's an embedded file inside of the Photoshop. And there's other smart objects like vectors that you can change the size left and right, and it won't change what's called rasterization, basically. But yeah, smart objects.
Okay then.
Any other brandings that most people have to do? Maybe I know you mentioned logo. Is your if you're on your own startup and you're starting out, should you create your own logo, or would you suggest?
Investing in somebody to create your logo is something I usually advise, just because that is really important that's going to set the tone for your business across anything that you do, because your logo is something you're going to want to keep constant on your Facebook, on your social media, on your business cards, whenever you're printing, whenever you're creating t-shirts with polos with your logo on them. That is something that I always advise that you try to get somebody to help you with. Once you have your logo, I think for the most part, for those of you who are starting a business by yourself, I recommend that you can sort of take over for them. But the logo is something that's incredibly important that if you can get help with, I recommend that you do.
Have you used Fiverr? And if you have,
Yes. I actually
been
have
your
used Fiverr.
experience?
So I like it for some aspects, but some aspects I don't.
For logos?
I wouldn't recommend it for logos, just because for the same thing that some of the people that you choose, they're already preset templates that they just change over and over again.
Well, $5.
Right, exactly. So I mean, I would recommend if you're like super frugal, like you have nothing to start off with your business, to give it a try. But personally, I didn't like it so much specifically for logo creation.
What did you like it for?
I liked it more for video editing, because you can create super fancy. For those of you who aren't aware of what Fiverr is, I'll go ahead and go there. Oh, it's with 2 R's. So Fiverr is basically a place where you can pay $5 for people to help you with different types of things. So you can find them for graphic design, like you mentioned, logo design, and you have different people on there that if you pay them a certain amount, some of them are a little bit more than 5, they'll create certain logos for you. And this will give your business a more professional a professional like feel for very less money. So you can use it for logos, or you can use it for writing, animation, music, audio, programming, basically everything you have up here. And you can see that there's different people, and they're rated by whoever uses them. And you can see that they create different things for you. So like, let's click this one real quick. So this guy is going to create 2 artistic logo designs with free Vector AI in 36 hours. And you can see some of their work.
It just looks like the examples that they post are not what you're going to get for $5 or even for $25.
Yeah, and they're usually not.
Like that. I mean, it just seems misleading to me.
It's a little bit misleading. It is. Like I've tried it out because I wanted to see what it was like, and I personally didn't like it because I felt like I couldn't work with the person who was designing it for me. It's like they didn't exactly like they can't capture the voice of what you want to create. That's why when
you can email them then.
Yeah, but sometimes they have like, you can only change it twice. They have stipulations to the amount of edits they can do. So what you do first is you pay them, you give them, this is what I'm looking for, this design specifics, but sometimes these people aren't even American. Like the one I got was like Indian. And I tried to explain to him what I wanted, but I don't think you understood me perfectly. So it's people from all over the world, and sometimes I guess you might get lucky to get somebody who will,
Crapshoot.
right, right. So I would definitely recommend that you give it a try if you want to. I mean, it's great for a lot of different things, but if you want something that truly captures specifically what you want, I don't think you're going to find it in Fiverr for your logo.
And they usually recycle what they design.
Exactly, yeah. A lot of it's recycled stuff they used before. They're changing little things here and there, but for the most part, they have templates that they reuse for all the different orders that they get. That's why some of them can get them done in 36 hours, like this guy. 36 hours, that's what? 2 days, 3 days?
It's like some of those logos don't look like they were done in 36 hours.
Right, because they've spent time to create one, and then they'll go ahead and change it for their clients as they come in. So they'll have these preset things. Same thing with when you're doing video animation. If you're doing intros or whatever it is that you're looking for, some of them are actually really nifty, but so I would recommend it for videos just because not a lot of people know about it, and they have really interesting things that they create for you. And you can even do audio and all that jazz. But once you have your logo, I think you can go back in here and maybe get the business cards you want, the flyers and the posters and stuff like that. But logo is something that is very personal when you're creating it for your business.
I mean, I've seen prices just go, I mean, all over the board. I mean, if you're on a budget and you're starting your own business, realistically speaking, you know,
Yeah.
how much should you expect and be able and be willing to pay for a logo that captures what you are trying to convey in your business?
What kind of business are you looking to start, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, for me, it's market research and it's digital marketing, but I really would rather stay away from the whole logo thing and all that. I just don't want to. I would rather stick to what I'm learning, which is code.
Okay.
You know, all the creative side of it, I want to stay more away from. But for example, let's say a catering business.
So if you're starting a catering business, okay. So if we're getting a logo for a catering business,
That
so
specializes in Southern home cooking.
Southern home cooking, okay. So for something like that, because it depends who you go with, of course. You can find people that are just starting out. There's a lot of design companies in the Valley, a lot of them actually. But something like that, I really can't price it for you.
What's the starting price, I guess? What would you say for logos nowadays?
I would say around 300.
See, a lot of people aren't going to pay.
Right.
But they want that level of quality. So, you know, how do you convey to a client? Let's say you're doing the website, right? But they also ask you to do a logo. I said, well, I would rather, you know, outsource that part to someone who knows what they're doing, you know? And I don't want to disappoint you. I want to stick to what I can provide for you, top notch. And, you know, a lot of times they say, no, I'll pay $100 for a logo. You know, how do you explain to them?
Maybe don't even explain, actually. What you can do is, you're already getting X amount of money for the project, and maybe it's too late now, but what we like to do sometimes is, and I say we because I do things on the side as well. Say that I quote out for a project or a new branding, a new identity. Well, it's totally normal to get basically another person to help you out, another company to help you out. So on the front side of the business, you're taking care of the client, and the other company just wants to get paid for whatever they want to get paid. So you just negotiate with them. So you go find a designer that is willing to do it for 300. I've actually, and this is not actually a great thing, but I've seen it happen way more often than not, is people end up paying like $2,000 for a new website, but then $2,000, $5,000 for a website. And then it takes me more than 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh, by the way, I found your website. It's $29. So they just use a template, basically. Which is, if they would have said that from the get-go that I'm gonna use the template, then it's no big deal. But $5,000 is pretty much taken advantage of.
I mean, even for 2,000, you're expected. I would expect for the. I mean, you know, that should be custom.
Yeah. Well, that's
much.
You assume, right?
Yeah.
But the standards of practice, it varies basically, and it's going to be your philosophy, your principles. And you could do what you're saying and tell them that I can't do the logo, or you can just tell them that I'm gonna find you a person and I'll quote you for it.
At cost?
Well, I mean,
Or don't even tell them what.
well, it's up to you, like I said. Like, how you want to go about it. Because I'm sure there's plenty of people here that are really creative. Maybe they don't do websites, they don't do the coding part, but they love to do the design. So I've done that before, where I told the client that I can't do the design, but I know somebody that will, and I'll just work with them within the budget that you're looking for.
Well, I'm doing a project for us. I'm working on a site that's about it's about a theology, and the book is going to come in a few months.
I'm sorry, how many layers would you use in a standard photo?
A standard photo? Well, it depends what I'm creating.
Yeah, let's say you want to make a bike image
A what? I'm sorry?
for a bicycle shop.
A bicycle shop? Well, it depends. Is it like, am I creating a flyer? It really just depends on what I'm doing. So let me show you some of my past work, and you can see how many layers I usually work with. Let me see. Where do I have
Okay,
those?
so layers doesn't mean like it's going to be nice.
No. Layers just means what you're putting in it, what elements you're adding into this.
Organization.
Right. So you can see this is a flyer I made a long time ago, and we have all these images, all this text, everything basically on here is a layer itself. So if I start taking things away, you'll see what elements are disappearing from it. And I can even play with the rearrangement of these. Oh, I don't like that. See, that's the reason why I hit that, because I didn't like how it looked. So I can just delete this or actually bring it down. And now it's behind, let me bring it all the way down so it's behind my gradient. So there it's behind there. Now I still don't like it, so I'm just going to delete it. And you can see all the layers that I've used, all the images. You know, usually the ones at the bottom, I forget to delete them, but they're like past concepts that I tried that didn't work out. That's what's right here. I was like, oh, I don't really like how that looks. I should probably delete it to keep the file size smaller, but usually I don't. But you can see.
So it's really easy to get it cluttered.
Right, right. So nifty little thing that you can use, that the good graphic designers use, is folders. And you can group them into, for example, the banner up here, this right here, I would group it into a banner folder. And so then I just go ahead and drop the title here so you can see what I put in there, as well as the banner that I used for it as well. So now, if I hide my banner, let me put it back in my banner, there we go. If I hide this folder, then I hide the entire banner. So then you can divide them by different sections and hide those things. And you can also use folders over here on Pixlr. And you have right here, sorry, let me put that here. You have the same options here as well. And so that's how you can organize your layers. And I recommend you do that as well. Thank you for asking that question. And then I can create this one, a new folder for, I'm creating new layers, this little folder guy. So, and I can change the name of it, and I can put this one, bottom banner. And so what also this allows you to do is group the different elements, and you can actually start moving them around. So let me bring back my banner and highlight the different elements that I'm trying for this part. And I'm going to go ahead and do my free transform again and just move it around. Like I can put it on her face if I don't want her to be, I don't want you to see your face, or move it up or down or whatever. So when you do that, when you group them in folders, you're able to organize all the layers that you're using. So all the text here and all the text here is organized by folders on this side over here. So layers just refers to whatever you're adding onto the image, whether it's the background image that I used, whether it's these logos up here, or the different fonts up here, the title, that's what layers refers to.
Now, when I make a logo, what would you think about? I mean, you're thinking about longevity, yes, but like, how can I go about that? Like, I don't know.
Well, it depends what the type of business that you're starting and what you want your business to represent. So usually, that's why I recommend for getting help for a logo, because it's a really involved process. It's giving the identity to the entity that you're creating. So if you're starting off like that Southern Cooking logo, for example, Like that's something very specific to what you wanted to do. So how do you want to portray that? Do you want to have a lady? Do you want to be cartoonish? Do you just want to have specific fonts, a specific feel to it? Like what do you want to think of when you think of that particular business? So that really depends what feel you like. For example, what are you said bicycles, right?
Yeah.
Bicycles. So if we're thinking of creating a logo for bicycles, what do you want people that are going into your business to gain from it? What do you want them to feel when they think about your business?
Travel, exploring, open spaces.
And so those are the things that you want to consider when you're trying to create something for yourself. Like what speaks to the business that you're trying to create? So travel, open spaces. So we're thinking maybe landscapes. We're thinking a way we can find.
But keeping it simple is important, right?
Right. That was my next point. So we want to think about landscapes, but we still want to keep it simple because this is a logo. This is something you're going to be putting on everything that represents you as a business. So we don't want to use too many colors. We don't want to make it too complicated because then when you're printing things, you're going to be using too many colors. And it won't be as neat when you're trying to transfer it onto different media that you're creating for your business.
I mean, it seems to me that simple is just better.
Yeah.
Out there. Just slap it on and see how it goes.
So those are the questions you want to be considering when you're thinking of a logo, is what does my business represent and what feelings do I want to evoke when they think of the business that I'm starting? Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much, guys. It was a really pleasure to be with you guys today.